Okay, guys, let's go over the major historical figures in psychology. And so this is a basic part of your test, just kind of knowing who some of the important people are. And as we come back and talk about them in context, we'll revisit some of these people again. So just know that some of your early philosophers like Buddha, Confucius, and the Hebrews started to look at the pre-scientific roots of psychology. The ancient Greeks played a big part in it. Plato felt that the mind was separate from the body, like one continued on after death, that knowledge is born within you, so you don't learn anything. Aristotle was different. He thought that knowledge grew from experience. So what you experience throughout life, that's how you gain knowledge. You're not born with it like Plato believed. Francis Bacon is there. Just know that he's one of the founders of modern science, like scientific method and stuff. So he felt that humans tended to find more order and pattern in events in the world. So they typically looked at that from a different perspective. Okay, John Locke. What you really, really need to know about John Locke is that he believed in what was called a tabula rasa, or a blank slate. It's the idea that when you're born, you have no knowledge. It's all gained from experience. So in that regard, he's like Aristotle. He looks at behaviorism. His ideas of this blank slate end up being used later in the nature versus nurture category. Like, are you born a certain way, or do you learn those behaviors and that's what makes you who you are? And he also believes in data. So, like scientists, that's what empiricism is. Okay, that's what that is, data. So no, empiricism is data. Okay, Dorothea Dix. She is one of the first women to really advocate for people with mental illnesses, like that they should be humanized, how they should be treated, that they need to be treated with dignity and respect. And she's going to create community psychology through her efforts, because she really is believing that the environment is essential for people to get better. And so her efforts are going to lead to the creation of the first mental asylums, so that people have a place that they can go receive treatment. Darwin, you need to associate him with evolution. So the fact that people are going to evolve different ways over time. So like you genetically learn how to do things. It's like things are pre-coded in you genetically. So you learn how to run away from things that will naturally otherwise kill you. Is there anything else I wanted to add about Freud? But just evolutionary adaptations help explain human behavior. So that's basically Darwin. Okay, Father Wilhelm. Okay, Wilhelm Wundt is the father pretty much of modern psychology. So you really, really need to know him. He is a structuralist, and we'll get more into that later. He set up the first formal lab for experiments in Leipzig, Germany. So he's really the first to actually go through and study in a lab setting, which was really big. He is looking at reaction time experiments. So it's like the atoms of the mind. He wants everything to be as scientific as possible. So he's really looking to shape psychology into a discipline more like science. He wants to move it more away from philosophy. And he's all about introspection. So it's kind of like Freud, where you have to report your conscious experiences. Okay, G. Stanley Hall was Wundt's student, and he established the first lab in the U.S. at Johns Hopkins. He was the first U.S. PhD based in psychology, first president of the American Psychological Association, and he is also going to go through and found the first journal for research in psychology. So he's like the American Wundt. Edward Titchener, he was a structuralist. Basically, what structuralists do is they analyze things into basic elements. So he's investigating the relationship between all of these elements that make up your consciousness. He brought Wundt's ideas to the United States. Sorry. So everything was like a puzzle for him. Okay, William James. He is a functionalist, worked at Harvard. He was an American philosopher and physician, and he's looking at the function of consciousness, like what purpose did it serve? And he's the person who comes up with the idea of the continual flow of thought or a stream of consciousness. And he was more into observing people in real world situations than like putting them in a lab. Like you could figure out people better if you actually like watch them in their natural everyday lives. Okay, Mary Calkins. What she is known for. She received one-on-one lessons from James because she was kicked out of Harvard because they denied her PhD because she was a woman. So she is the first female president of the APA. She sets up her own lab. She conducted studies on memory, served, like I said, was the first woman president of the APA. Let's see, she is the founder of self-psychology, so she's known for looking at how people as an individual play a role in society. Margaret Floyd Washburn, first female PhD in psychology, second female president of the APA, focused on the behavior of animals, and she's also going to look at motor movement. She wrote a book called Animal Mind because she's really looking at why do animals behave the way they do. All right, I'm going to pause here because my video, I'm limited on time. So I'll come back and finish talking about Freud and some of the other psychologists. If I can figure out how to do this somehow.